Trigger warning. I don't have a screener. I'm using the auto screener, so anything can get said. It looks like this is Mr. Batman. You're on with IQ and Ethan.
Yes. Hello, IQ and Ethan. How are you all doing this evening?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing better than I deserve, because I know what I deserve and I ain't getting it. I deserve eternity in a place called hell, and I've got the gift of the Holy Spirit and the gift of forgiveness. That's called repentance. And I just wanted to say that that I can prove that the God of the Bible exists.
Great. I'd love to hear it.
Certainly. Would you agree to know anything to be true that you have to have time, space, and matter?
To know anything to be true. I apologize. I don't know what you mean by that you have to have time, space, and matter.
Okay. Sure. Would you agree that knowledge is a justified true belief? That is, in order to know something to be true, you have to have, again, knowledge. Knowledge is a justified true belief. Justification is a chain of evidence. It must be true, and it must be trustworthy. That's a justified true belief. It's called the correspondence theory of reality.
Yeah, it's kind of the scenic route of the old catchphrase, if you can't show it, you don't know it. But yeah, I'll bite that one. It's pretty close.
Okay. Well, in order to know something to be true in the real world in real time, because that's what truth is that which comports with reality, then you need time, space, and matter. Okay. Where does time, space, and matter come from so you can know anything to be true?
I mean, I personally don't know where.
Are we getting into origins here?
Yeah. So, I mean,
yes, sir, we are.
The furthest back I'm aware of is the Big Bang. I don't know what happened to lead to that. I'm definitely not knowledgeable enough. But as far as I know, the Big Bang.
Okay. Well, the Big Bang is time, space, and matter. And I'm actually a science teacher.
Oh,
and
great.
Because time, space, and matter cannot be the cause of time, space, and matter, then you can't appeal to time, space, and matter. So something timeless, spaceless, immaterial, all-powerful, all-knowing, a loving, living, logical, lawgiver God must be the cause of time, space, and matter.
How do we know that?
I
mean, there are cyclical theories to the Big Crunch, all that stuff that we don't necessarily know, can't really outrule, and we don't know what was before the Big Bang, and that's just kind of our understanding up to a certain point. We can't really prescribe any causality before then. How do you get to there must be?
Are you familiar with the law of cause and effect?
Yeah, cause and effect, yes. At least relatively familiar with it. Go for it.
Matter had a beginning, and we know it had a beginning because of the second law of thermodynamics, which is called entropy. Everything decays over time. Everything goes from a state of order to disorder, from workable, usable energy to no workable, usable energy. It's also called thermal equilibrium. So we know that the Big Crunch doesn't work, that everything in the time, space, and matter that we observe had a beginning. So whatever has a beginning is called an effect. Every effect must have an adequate cause. The adequate cause of time, space, and matter must be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial. That's the God of the Bible.
Why must it be that, though? Like, who said that that must be it? And then how do you get to that's it to that's God?
Outruling multiple universes, and there's a few others that could potentially be.
Actually, no, sir. There's only one God. The Lord our God is one. And when you look at a lawgiver God, the God who creates, and again tells us he's going to create in advance. The Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. When you look at the Bible in its original language, the very first word in the Bible gives us the definition of what God is going to do. It's the Bereshit, Passover prophecy.
So why, though, would I believe the Bible is true?
because without the Bible, you couldn't know anything to be true. The God of the Bible is our lawgiver God who gives us laws, like laws of logic, laws of cause and effect, laws of thermodynamics. Where do those laws come from, and why do they not change over time?
So, I mean, here's the great thing. This is where I err on the side of saying, hey, I don't know, but I'm open to all possibilities. But I wouldn't go as far as to make an assertion that there is something specifically responsible. For example, how did you rule out the fact that another universe didn't give birth to our universe?
Because time, space, and matter cannot give birth to time, space, and matter. Again, anything that has a beginning, and time, space, and matter had a beginning, must have an adequate cause. Anything that has a beginning is known as an effect. Every effect must have an adequate cause. So a universe cannot give birth to another universe. As a matter of fact, the word universe, I'm also a teacher of English. Universe is a compound word. Uni means single, verse is a spoken sentence. So universe is all of the cosmos. It's everything that was created in a single spoken sentence. Whew, that'll preach.
So first and foremost, I will say this. You're one of the politest precepts I've ever met. So thank you for that.
I don't do presuppositional apologetics, sir. I teach apologetics. I'm what's called a covenantal apologist.
Okay. I apologize for, confusing.
Oh, no problem, sir. They are quite similar.
Okay. Well, you are very polite. So, how do you know, though, specifically that a universe didn't give birth to another universe? How did you, for example, rule that out?
Well, again, where do natural laws come from? Can you get any natural law from the physical world, like laws of gravity, magnetism, thermodynamics? These are called cosmological constants. The strong and weak nuclear force, the force of gravity, and the force of magnetism are the four major cosmological constants of our universe. They are super finely tuned to allow functionality and physicality to work in our universe the way it does. If they change at all, the physical world does not work. If they are not tuned exactly where they are, they do not work.
I wouldn't say that is finely tuned. They are tuned to what they are.
These three questions. Where do they come from? What causes, again, the law of cause and effect, what causes these laws to be in place? What causes them not to change in a universe that is constantly changing over time? And what's going to cause them to be here again tomorrow so we can enjoy this party one more time?
Well, that's just physics. You're prescribing that there is a hand finely tuning them, and it's just that's what they are. That's the tuning that just happens to be, and everything works the way it does because of everything. We wouldn't be having this conversation if they were any different. We're getting into the puddle analogy here, is that, we're not finely tuned to everything. It's just, that's just the shape of everything. And this is the result of all of those different parameters.
Okay. Then what causes it, if it just happened to be that way? Where do laws come from that don't change over time? What causes these laws not to change over time in a world that's constantly changing? Well, I mentioned earlier the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that everything is decaying over time. Everything is going from a state of order to disorder to thermal equilibrium. If you take a cup of hot steaming coffee and you put it in the middle of your coffee table and you walk away for 3 hours and then come back, what happens to the temperature of the coffee in the coffee cup?
Of course, it cools off. And, well, at least relative to what it was.
And the longer it's there, the more of thermal equilibrium it becomes. That is, there's no measurable temperature difference between the coffee in the cup and its surrounding environment. So once again, if the universe had always been here, then there would be no temperature differences between things in the universe. We see huge temperature differences between everything in the universe. That's where work comes from. Work comes from the thermal differences between things. So again, you have to ask yourself, what wound up our physical universe with the least amount of entropy so it could wind down to maximum entropy over a period of time? What causes these laws, like the laws of thermodynamics, what causes them not to change over time, and what's going to cause them to be like this again tomorrow?
So
I'm leaving that question to the astrophysicists, and I will not be referring to...
I happen to be one of those, sir.
Okay, well, this is great. The astrophysics kind of stops when you start making assumptions, though. We're not exactly sure that the universe was birthed or that it was a beginning.
Hey, Mr. Batman, we've let you speak. Please, return him the same respect and let him complete his sentence as well.
I mean, you can
but he actually
change the states of matter.
And the false statement is that I'm assuming anything. I don't assume anything, sir. I have ultimate justification for every claim that I make.
How? So let's say we don't have an answer for how everything began. How does that get us to God did it?
Oh, well, sir, if you don't know, you know what? You can't tell me that I'm wrong. You know why? Because you don't know. In order to tell me that I'm wrong, that God is the creator of all things, you would have to have an alternative. You would have to be able to say, well, you're wrong because of X. And you don't have an X. You just say, I don't know. I'm showing you that there are laws in the physical world that the physical world depends upon, not least of which are the laws of physics, like laws of chemistry. Why does water boil at 212 degrees every time based on known parameters such as humidity and barometric pressure? Why is that? Because, again, there's a loving, logical, lawgiver God who put those laws in place, and he doesn't change over time. Due to the laws of cause and effect, anything that causes a law in our physical world and that law doesn't change over time, whatever caused that to be, that thing or being must not change over time. And that thing or being is a volitional being because of the first and second laws of thermodynamics together. When you have the first and second laws of thermodynamics together, that's the conservation of mass and energy and the laws of entropy. You have a personal agent who chose to act as a creator and then chose to stop its act of creation. Why do you think matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed? It can only change form because God chose to create and he chose to rest. He rested on the Sabbath. That's the seventh day. So he created in 6 literal 24-hour periods, and he rested on the 7th literal 24-hour period.
All right, Mr. Batman.
What are the laws that get you to that right there? You jump from known laws of physics to because God.
Because
what are the laws that...
Are you familiar with this term?
What was that again?
Are you familiar with the term the uniformity of nature?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, it sounds easy enough to understand, but
uniformity of nature. And again, sir, I teach this stuff, so I may be a little bit over your head, but I teach elementary school, so don't worry, I can teach you. The fact of the matter is,
Mr. Batman,
the uniformity of nature is that everything in the physical world works under uniform.
Okay, you've been muted. That was incredibly fucking rude. Do not talk to my co-host like that. Be polite. We have shown you nothing but respect. We've let you talk. But saying something's over his head and comparing it to preschool is juvenile and childish. And if that happens again, we're done. I'm going
Please
to take
avoid the condescension.
I do not like muting people, and I do not like dropping people. I have shown you respect. We expect the same in return. You are now off mute.
I equated it to elementary school, sir. He was the one who said I was talking over his head. I was simply agreeing with him.
It wasn't that.
If we're talking about the uniformity of
nature, was about something that I didn't understand. Hold on for 1 second, man. It wasn't that you're talking about something that I didn't quite understand. It's how you phrased it. It was a little condescending. And we're not here to talk to each other like that.
And you said you didn't know. So if you don't know, then you probably should take some notes and learn.
All right.
Because I can help you.
Sorry, IQ. I have a lot of patience, but I'm done with that, dude. I'm sorry to the audience that I had to drop somebody. I don't like doing that. I want to be an open, welcome platform to everybody, but I'm not going to tolerate my co-host being disrespected. You want to come at me? Fine. But my co-host will not be disrespected on my channel ever.
Apparently, you might be unfamiliar with Mr. Batman.
I am unfamiliar with Mr. Batman. He seemed incredibly polite at first, but yeah, I guess not.
I've heard him on a few occasions, and well, I mean, I wouldn't really call him famous, but he's known in the community, and I've heard him on a few occasions talking with Matt Dillahunty with the same things. And you know, I'm not quite as brilliant as Matt, and but it's the same arguments, and there's a big mix right there of pulling out real science and then jumping straight to assertions on causality and causation.
And that's what he was doing. He just kept making assertions and assumptions about the beginning of the universe, and you just can't do that. Now, a lot of this science may fly over my head, but I think I'm pretty good at detecting bullshit. And that's all I heard was just there has to be this uncaused causation crap for the beginning of the universe, which is God. No. Demonstrate there is a God first. That's where I stand.
They seem to be really good on, pointing out laws and investigations and the scientific method, and you seem to have somewhat of appreciation for that, right up to the point where he's prescribing causality. So,
I'll still say
maybe that's what he should take notes on.
Or quite possibly a course on critical thinking and logical fallacies. In fact, maybe he should pick up Dave Worley's book, Fantastic Fallacies and Where to Find Them.
Found him.
Yeah. We hit the lottery with him.
That was fantastic.
I'll still say this. My favorite pre-sup is still Joel Sedeke's. He's one of the polite ones, I think.